Hi, my name is Terry Lynch. I'm the CEO of Power Nickel. Power Nickel is advancing the Nisk Nickel Sulphide project in James Bay, or just south and east of James Bay, Quebec. And we're looking to update our 43101 in Q2. We've been drilling since, I guess, mid-September, continuing to drill now, and we're getting some great results. And we're looking forward to telling you the Power Nickel story and how we're going to become Canada's next nickel sulphide mine.
Terry, thank you for the introduction. Good to be speaking to you again. I did see the news release out recently that says that you've continued assaying down the hole and that you've expanded your intercept from 25 meters to 40 odd meters at good grades. Can you just talk me through where you are in terms of the drilling and how many more assays and drill holes have you got to come out?
Yeah, so on the sort of the phase 2 program, which was last fall, for sort of like mid-September to mid-December, we drilled about 14 holes and about 6,000 meters, I think, and we've reported on 5 of them. So we've got 9 more of those holes to come. Generally speaking, in terms of, predicting when exactly assays will hit is sort of like predicting the stock market. Very hard to do. But generally, we would think that every 3 or 4 weeks we'd have fresh assays. They tend to take about 10 to 12 weeks. So we would think probably in about another month's time we'd have another batch out, and we'll have pretty much a batch out once a month from now until the end of probably July, because we're already drilling now phase 3, which will start drilling. We started drilling this week, and we'll keep on drilling until spring break, which is depends on the end of the year, but end of April, early May, and then that will be that's what we're funded to do at this point in time.
And you've increased the size of that phase 3 drill program from 7,000 meters to 10,000 meters.
Yeah. We basically, really we sort of see it as almost like if September to April, we'll probably get to 15,000 meters in total. That would be the objective.
And when is the cutoff for the new mineral resource estimate?
Yeah, we're basically we're going to get the full metallurgical report, we think, by the end of April, and then that's sort of the last ingredient we need to sort of update the 43101. We've given the market guides to say we'd hope to update it by the end of June, early July. So we'll probably at that point we would have pretty much all of the assays back. Maybe we'd be missing a couple of holes, but that's a game time decision we make. Like, we have some smashing holes based on the log intercepts. I'm sure we'd push it until the end of July to make sure we captured that. But generally speaking, that would be the plan.
And you've got a historic resource of about 1 million tons, haven't you? And you've spoken to me in the past about
historic of 3.1 million tons.
Sorry, 3.1 million tons. And
measured, indicated, inferred. Yeah.
And when does that date from?
2006.
Oh my goodness! So a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what gives us comfort is that we post all of our drill collars, all the historical drill holes, plus our current drill holes. People can model this themselves. You can get in Leapfrog and do it, and we know what we're carrying internally. And many professional companies have done this because we've talked to them. So it's no magic, secret sauce. We know we've got several million ton deposit. That's just going to be a fact, and we'll obviously get the 43101 to confirm the fact. But the data is there for people that wish to analyze it and see it now. So without the 43101 branding on it, but that branding is coming. That's just waiting for the metallurgical, and we'll have that in a couple of months.
And the with reference to the 8 million tons that you've spoken to me in the past about being a kind of a threshold of economic kind of reality. Most new nickel sulphide mines start at 8 million tons and increase in size. Are you where are you in terms of outlining the envelope of mineralization? Are you on track, do you think, to get towards that?
Yeah, very much so. We think when we report in when we update the 43101, we'll get somewhere between 8 to 10, and that's really on this one pod. And then it's every nickel sulphide mine, to our knowledge, in the history of the world, has always been multiple pod. So it's not just one deposit. Typically, when Mother Earth, provides nickel to us, she does so in this way. She burps up, a few belches of nickel. So we've found one belch, and we're actively looking. We've got some pretty innovative strategies on how to find the others, and we could probably dig further into that. That could, because that's going to be interesting.
Interesting. Well, that's not the most technical approach I've heard to resource definition, but it's one of the most entertaining. Just, I was curious, why did you split that assay? Why did you split that hole?
You know what I mean? I guess when they were bagging it and sending it, they for some reason there was a gap in I'm not sure exactly what happened processing wise. We just got the in fact, when we got the second results back, I was surprised. I knew that we had got drill logs looked deeper in south, but I thought they had got it, but obviously they didn't. And then we got the second half in, and lo and behold, it added another 60% sweet spot to the hole, which was already a great hole, and then it became a really fantastic hole. So we're obviously happy to get it.
In that news release, you talk about the report talks about pinch and swell. There are a couple of pierce points on that plane where there's no mineralization. When you talk about aiming for 8 to 10 million tons, does that take into account zones where there's no mineralization, or are you just looking for a holistic plane of view which may not reflect reality?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, we've got obviously internal drill logs that give us some insight to the forthcoming drill holes that will be released, and based on that we can model the deposit in a bit more detail. And so we have and so I would say it does take into case the pinching and swelling. But as always on these things, you're using the data that's available at the time and your best understanding of the data, and then you eventually get the real data and you have to correlate it. So I think we're feeling pretty confident about what we're sort of hypothesizing on the deposit. But again, we'll wait to see the final verdict, and ultimately that's why people wait for 43-101s. But yeah, we feel pretty good. It's been a pretty understandable ore body so far in terms of predictions. I mean, sometimes these things, and they have, like in this case, it sort of doubled back and thinned out, and then it swelled up. So those are things nuances in deposits that are fairly common, and that's why you drill them so you can identify those and go from there.
And it's why you not only drill them, but you assay them as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it sounds to me as if you've done enough drilling to visually see the envelope of mineralization, and that you've got your eye in and the calibration more or less to the amount of sulfides that you can see in the core to kind of give a rough estimate of grade, but the proof will really come through. The data, the hard data, will come through once you've gone through that assay.
Yeah, 100%, and that's why the drill results are important, right? Because as you get them in, obviously, when you get holes like we had last time, 40 meters of about 1.6% or plus nickel EQ, those really add credibility to the results, and obviously, we don't think that's going to be our best hole in this round. So we think there'll be some better holes. So that that really, you start to add a bunch of tonnage when you're, in that case, we were 150 meters away from the nearest resource. So those are the ones that give you a lot of hope and encouragement. And as I said, we think we've got some ones like that or better coming. So we factor that into our hypothesis of what we've got here.
Yeah, I can see also on those sections, or those long sections, you've got some indications of other massive sulfide and sulfide intersections in holes which are pending. So good. It'll be good to see those. Now the market, since we last spoke, we caught up in early December. The market's improved since then. There's a bit of a kind of a bit of a buzz around metals and resources. Your share price is up a bit. What are you hearing in the market? I mean, how does it feel when you talk to potential investors or existing investors?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of interest, I would say. So I would say we're getting a lot of warm audiences. I think to the most part they haven't moved off the wallet. So but they're starting to step in. Like our volumes have picked up, and we'd like to see it break through. I mean, there's some technical overhangs and shit like this that you see in the market that is just there as part of the technical sort of curve, I guess. But I suspect that.
Talk to me about that. Is that a warrant?
No, not so much. I think they just I think right now, technically speaking, 24. I think maybe even 26. Once we break through that, it'll probably run a bit, and then 32 is another one, and then it'll run a bit. So we probably have to break through and we've sort of pushed against these. And I think that the feeling is that at some point it'll go through. We've got overwhelmingly buy sentiment in the stock, which is good. Like it's like close to 90%. So that's all positive. And all we can do honestly is to deliver the goods, and communicate the story and the opportunity. And eventually, if you get more buyers and sellers, the stock moves north. And in the final analysis, people are always looking at your stock versus other opportunities. And like if you're looking in the nickel space, if they're comparing our nickel opportunity versus other nickel opportunities of similar nickel sulphide groups, if they do the math, they should see that we're trading at a deep discount, and they should say, why is that? Is there some fundamental fatal flaw here? If there isn't, then I should buy this because it's better value. And eventually that message will get out there, we believe. And it's about us communicating it, using platforms like you to get the word out, and talking one-on-one with individual investors or family offices or small funds, etc., and doing the hard work of communicating the investment opportunity.
It's the curse of the junior resources sector, isn't it? It's a they're terrible companies. They're always running out of money. They've got micro market cap. They've got no cash flow, and then you find something of value. And I guess perhaps your very size and the fact that you are going to run out of capital are your greatest impediments.
100%. That's always the and yet therein lies the greatest opportunity, right? So for investors, people are not buying junior mining stocks to make 10%, or if they are, they're mad, right? Because it's really not that business. You really are trying to find those undiscovered stocks that you think really ultimately could become a mine, where you're looking for 10 times your money or 20 times your money, and those are game changers for one's individual portfolio. And so you need to do your due diligence and find those ones that actually have merit and have are capitalized enough to get it to the next stage. And there's a number of things you need to check on to make sure you're in your best, getting your odds in your best favor. But I think if people do that, they'll find that Power Nickel certainly stacks up there amongst the best in that space. And we're trying to do the right things and talk about it honestly to folks so they can make the right assessment for them, because people have different risk profiles, and we get that. And some people will come in now, and some people will wait until the 43-101 is out. I get that. There's no right or wrong there. That's just a philosophical approach to investment, and I think people will have to do what's right for them.
What's your treasury at the moment?
Well, we just raised 4.2 million in November, and so what we've said as guidance to the market is that that'll fully fund our drill programs through June, and this 15,000 meter complete program. And at that point, sometime between now and then, we'll need to raise more capital. But our view is we've got some great holes to come. We want to get those out. We want to obviously spread the word about the opportunity, and we would anticipate that at some point the market would start to respond. And what's really neat about Quebec, one of the reasons why I think it's the best jurisdiction in the world to be working in right now is, in addition to having great infrastructure, and they've done a really great job of working with the Aboriginals and making the communities want to have high-paying mining jobs in their community. They've done an amazing job with the financial incentive programs. So in Quebec today, basically, I can take $1 from an investor and turn it into $2. So it's the only place in the world you can do this. And basically we did it in the last round. The stock was 10 cents. We raised money at 20 cents, and the investors bought the stock back for 10 cents. So the company got a 20-cent treasury to work with, and the investor gained at 10 cents. So, going forward, we'll be able to do that. So if we wanted to raise, $5 million to, advance, another, 15,000 meter program this summer, or 20,000 meters this summer, then, we could probably do that. We're hoping 80 cents to $1, and the investor gets in at 40 or 50 cents. That would be fantastic. So that's really the benefit of working in Quebec, and with the conjunction with the critical mineral tax credit that the federal government offered, and the other benefit is that we're getting it to firm investor hands, as opposed to the ordinary flow through you used to do back in the day. You would you get cash, but then when the whole period would come off, all this flow through would come back in your face, and it'd be like, the stock tanks, and but this is the reverse. You basically put it in firm hands up front. They've got it at 50% discount, so they're happy. They're holding for you to execute. There's no pressure to sell. They come in there, they got their discount up front, and they're the long-term holder, and they're looking for it to grow. So it's a really phenomenal structure. I can't say enough positive about it.
Tell me a bit about your shareholder register. Have you got people on the register already who you could potentially kind of cornerstone the next raise, or are you looking for those kind of institutions?
Yeah. So we've got a couple of Palace Capital and BT Global are our two institutional shareholders right now. Palace was a top 1-year fund last year, I think, in Canada, and BT was a top 5-year fund. So very credible, sharp guys. They've been supporters from day one, so they participated in every round, and I'm sure they would participate in the next rounds. And we've met a number of European and U.S. funds in the last quarter of the year, and even just the start of this year, that are quite interested in the story. And they, we're saying buy in the market, and I'm sure they're starting to do that. But they'll also be very interested in any sort of funding we would have. So I don't see us ever having at the moment in time, especially with how hot nickel is, and North American Class 1 nickel in particular, raising the capital. It's all about the price point. What do you get, and when do you hit the bid, and that sort of thing. So our whole view is to let's get the message out here while we don't need the money right now, and we're executing, and hopefully at some point the market starts to respond.
And are you handing out CAs like confetti, and getting industry partners to come and have a look at it?
Yeah, what's interesting about that, because we chose to, knowing that we were an unknown, we thought, let's post our drill collars and azimuths and publicly make that available. So we own the property. Nobody's going to scoop us on it. There's no vacant land around. This is like done. So you don't have the land there now. You're not getting any more. So we got 45 square kilometers. So we've got our package. So in that case, they haven't had to get a CA to sort of get an understanding. Now, do they want to come up and do site visits and actually see the core? Well, that's where we get into that. So then it's like, okay, now we're crossing the threshold. Okay, so now we'll do something. So yes, we're getting to that stage with these guys now, and I expect more will come in the future. Funnily enough, some of our other projects in Chile, which had been sort of sleepy, are now getting a bunch of CAs, because people are now saying, okay, well, maybe Chile isn't going to go Venezuela on us, and now we can look at interesting prospects there. So we're there may be some interesting side bonus action to happen with our other projects, which will be additive to the story.
Yeah, and it's increasingly hard to pick up decent land packages in Chile these days. It's a competitive landscape, and exploration is back. It bounced back 30% last year, and even with nothing happening in the first half of the year, or the first 9 months of the year.
Indeed. Yeah. I think with gold, looking healthy, and copper getting a bid now that China seems to be, re-engaging. I think gold copper exploration, which is what our spin-out would be, will catch a bid, and therefore can find support and can trigger market action, which will be positive.
Okay, well, good. Thank you very much for the update. I haven't told you that I went to a Christmas dinner, and we were asked for our top picks for the next 12 months to win a bottle of wine the following year. And I actually said, okay, Power Nickel. So it wasn't a great deal of research, but I did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think you're going to win your bottle of wine. We certainly going to work our level best to make that happen. We've got some, one of the things we're doing that we'll announce shortly is I think I told you about the sound mapping technology that we're going to be employing at Power Nickel, and it's pretty interesting. That there's obviously we've got the one pod, and we know what that looks like, and we got drill assays, we got all that stuff, so we know what the science is saying down there. So you can actually sort of do it. We'll do the technology over that we know exactly what it looks like, and then we see what that looks like, and then you can apply it to the rest of the territory to sort of see if there's similar, geological mapping configurations like that, and that would obviously help us to vector in our next drill targets. And we use that still, and we can check with the seismic, check with gravity to again sort of vector these things together to enhance the drilling experience. So we're excited about that. That'll happen, and I think that'll accelerate our finding of the next pods. And the other interesting thing about that technology.
What technology is it?
It's called sound mapping, and it's Fleet Aerospace. I forget exactly the technical name, but how I found them is that Talon Metals used them in their Minnesota mine, and they found a whole new section that they through this technology. So we think, hey, if it works for them, it can work for us. So. And the other interesting point that I found exciting in talking to them, obviously our priority is NISK, but I asked them because I saw that they had used it in Western Australia to find copper and lithium. And I said, so in Western Australia, I know there's caliche. And I said, are you guys able to see through the caliche? Caliche is sort of like mineralized limestone that is in the base of sand dunes. That's a real problem if you're drilling in a desert environment, which we are in Chile. And they said, yeah, we can see through caliche. So that could be a game changer for Chile. So we basically, after we use it at NISK, the plan is to send it to Chile and do one of our projects in Chile. So be interesting. So interesting technology, and I think it could be a cool new way to explore.
Well, let's see what it brings, first of all, in at NISK and its surrounds. And thank you very much for your time today. I look forward to seeing more drill results over the coming weeks and months. Before we go, just on the metallurgy, what are you doing? Is it kind of how it floats and what your expected recoveries are?
Yes, yeah. So the XPS is, I think, would be considered amongst the top in that whole field, and I think they're owned by Glencore, so obviously they know nickel. They're based in Sudbury, so they're working on it right now, and the idea is to develop a process that will yield the most nickel, but also deal with our other. We're a polymetallic deposit, right? We've got copper, cobalt, and palladium in pretty significant percentages. So we're also very interested to see how that can be harvested. We've met other, just as an aside, nickel processing companies that feel that they can get those grades out completely, and with some pretty interesting tech, and are doing so. And it's interesting, that whole business. Like we get, when we sell, the nickel, we get LME, right? The nickel processing people, that make nickel wire and nickel anodes and nickel powders, they get 150 plus LME. It's a big number, so to build a plant that's able to do that probably raises your prices from like a capex from 200 million to say 400 million. But imagine if you double your capex, but your revenue side, the math looks pretty exciting. So anyway, it's interesting. We'd never do that ourselves, but if we had a technical partner that was going to put up the capital to build that and operate it, well, that'd be an exciting opportunity for us to explore and discover. So those are interesting conversations you're having in the nickel world in North America today.
Well, yes, and the PEA is all about what it might be.
Exactly.
And then a PFS is really about picking the most
logical,
economic, the most logical. What is the best? It's after a whole lot of trade-off studies and optionality analysis. Yeah. Good. Well, lots to look forward to. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for the update.
Great. And thanks for the plug on the vote for Power Nickel. We'll try and deliver. Cheers for now.